All right, sponsor time.
Yeah, we have our first sponsor.
Monkey Juice. It's brought to you by Monkey Juice for all your anger management and digestional needs.
Yep, that's our first sponsor. Sounds like a terrible product, but it's probably the last time it will sponsor them.
You gotta get that money though.
Should not
This
insult
show's
our
not
sponsors.
Yeah, this show's not free. Thanks, Monkey Juice.
Yeah, thank you, Monkey Juice. Shameful plugs. It's us. It's us. We are on Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, YouTube, and Anchor. We finally have approval from Apple, which took like 2 weeks, but like technically we've been trying to get approved by Apple and on their podcast system for
Month.
a month at least. So yay us. Something that I never mentioned when we were doing the first 2 episodes is that we do have a Bandcamp where you can go and listen to any of the songs without all of the talking.
Yeah. No talking. Just tunes.
Can we talk about why plugging is a shameful activity?
Well, yeah, I guess we can talk about it.
Yeah. A little bit.
I'm always embarrassed about it. Well,
Me too. That's kind of why I'm like, I want to figure that out because it's embarrassing.
Well, I feel like when somebody is plugging their band constantly and always talking about it, it annoys me, right? Like when I'm like on Facebook or any kind of social media and like that's all my friend is doing on his web page is just constantly plugging his band and talking about his band. It's kind of like eye rolling to me where I'm like, oh, all right, like especially if their band isn't very good, you know? And it's like it just feels really artificial to me. Like it doesn't feel like a natural thing. I don't mind talking about, oh yeah, I do music and stuff, but to like be like, oh, I have a show on Tuesday, you should come, and like when I used to be in a band and make flyers and flyers, I mean, all of it just felt so forced. Like I felt like it was fake. I think,
Yeah.
and that's why it's shameful to me. Like I don't like forcing it on somebody.
I also feel like it's kind of like the motive thing feels sociopathic, and then like the interaction that you're getting with the person is not a genuine interaction. You question like, wait, was that whole conversation kind of just for that, to insert that plug?
Well, also if you're like really personally connected to it, like if it's say your stuff is just you, so it's a weird way you're plugging yourself, not like a band. So you're like it's like the equivalent of coming up and going, I'm a really good friend. You should be friends with me. Right? We can be friends on Saturday 17th at bar 13. We're going to be friends, you know? And it's like, can't force that on somebody, if they want to be friends with you, they'll be friends with you.
All right.
So we have decided that we're going to do a unique intro sound or music every time. So this time it was something Yejun did.
Yep. So a while back, it was like a year or 2 ago, me and my friend, he's like my first music friend that I started making music with back in Indiana. Well, we got together one Christmas break, and we're both into electronic music. We decided that, hey, we're going to try this project out to make some live techno. And the concept behind it was to start it off with the sound of a pin dropping and then kind of have it bleed into that sound you heard during the intro. Over the holidays, I actually saw him. We sat down and I'm like, hey, we should be on each other's podcast. And so I sat down and had this interview with him.
Enjoy.
So a little history about us. I'll give a quick rundown. I think we met sometime in grade school. We got really into guitar together. I think you're like one of the first people I started making music with. And then we got really heavy into blues guitar together. Yeah, that was really how I got my start as far as making music, for myself and with other friends. And
Actually, I think the real moment that I decided that I needed to play the guitar was you and some other people over at my parents' house. And Stevie Ray Vaughan was on Austin City Limits. And so we were watching it, and it came time for his rendition of Voodoo Child, where he breaks a string and restrings the guitar mid solo. And I mean, I was like
Yeah.
in awe of this because here's this guy. He's larger than life. He's playing guitar in a way that's like nobody played guitar like that, at least not to that degree.
Yeah.
And it just blew my mind because before that, my concept of the guitar was like, Nirvana and Green Day and Stone Temple Pilots and that stuff. Don't get me wrong, I love Stone Temple Pilots, but Stevie Ray Vaughan, man,
Yeah, he was next level the way he played.
man, he's like 2 or 3 levels beyond.
What was your rig at the time? I remember you had an Epiphone guitar. It was like a surf green.
Oh God, that hideous thing.
No, I loved it. I thought it was.
Oh, so I had an Epiphone Strat knockoff, and I had a bunch of different guitar amps over the course of that first guitar. I think I had a crate. It wasn't even a guitar amp; it was a keyboard amp, and I couldn't figure out how to make it sound like everyone else had a distortion circuit, and I didn't, and so I was like, what am I doing? What's wrong? And then I bought a brand loyalty without knowing it. I bought an Epiphone amplifier because it looked cool, and it sucked. Then I bought a Crate GX 130C, a stereo chorus solid state amp with big reverb and chorus and stereo, and it was a metal monster, but it was terrible. We had such terrible amps back then.
But we didn't have the internet. It's not like we could research product really.
That's true.
It's very different now.
We only really knew it was available through like catalogs, like Musician's Friend or American Musical Supply, or.
And really, we were in high school, so like, what money did we have at that point?
That's true. Like, no money.
So whatever was around.
I remember going to pawn shops just to see if they had any different pedals that week, and occasionally they would, but nobody had money to buy it.
I remember seeing a lot of Dodd and Digitech, sometimes Boss in there.
Yeah.
But now the big thing is that for me, you got into guitar building, and you did this with your dad.
Oh yeah. Grand total, we assembled somewhere in the order of 15 electric guitars.
Yep. You built 2 of the guitars that I own. The first one was kind of like amalgamation of like dream features funneled into a guitar. So like an ebony fretboard with a maple neck, Goto locking tuners, I think the nuts graphite, and a Wilkinson tremolo, which I think they don't make them like that anymore.
They don't. They changed the saddle design.
Yeah, Texas specials.
The thing I always liked about those necks that we used, it was the ebony fingerboard. They just feel so good. It almost ruined me later because I never felt like Rosewood felt the same. It didn't feel right. I was always lusting after the ebony fingerboard, and I didn't know why.
A lot of people like Rosewood, but I think it's kind of like too gritty.
I actually really like maple fingerboards. There's something about a maple fingerboard that's just like really honest.
Can you say a few words about your dad? Because I feel like he's a very extraordinary person. He's an interesting dude.
So, my dad's an artist. He's a painter. And he creates abstract paintings, large format abstract paintings. Like the small ones are 4 foot by 6 foot, and they get go from there up to like 6 by 6, 6 by 12. Yeah, he's an artist. So I've been surrounded by visual media, and he was really into jazz, so I was always surrounded by jazz, and he exposed me to a lot of ideas and art and creativity from a very early age. I'm really, really grateful for that because I know that not everyone is given that kind of opportunity.
And how did you end up making guitars with him? Was that
that surf green Epiphone that you have some nostalgia about?
Yeah.
I hated that guitar. And so I kept looking at other guitars thinking, well, this one will make me happy. And my dad's like, no, you don't want any of those. And so finally one day I showed him a picture of a guitar. It was a picture of a Klein, which is an ergonomic guitar descended from the Ovation, Deacon, and Breadwinner line of oddball-shaped guitars. Those guitars were not very ergonomic simply because they had squared bodies, and the Klein was rounded and kind of shaped like a kidney bean. But I showed him this picture and said, "That's a really cool guitar. You should get one of those." And I was like, "Yeah, right. This is a $4,000 guitar. Where am I going to come with $4,000?" He's like, "Well, let's build one." So the next thing I know, we're looking at necks and bridges and other electronics, and I had this express course in these are the fundamental parts of guitar that make it actually work, and this is how it works, and this is a soldering iron, and these are capacitors and potentiometers, and this is how you use a multimeter. And next thing I know, we're building a second guitar and a fourth guitar, and they just kept happening.
I'll have to link some pictures or something. They always used cool wood.
Oh yeah, we always
mahogany bodies with
big, thick maple caps.
yeah.
Yeah, that was part of my then obsession with the Les Paul, which I no longer have.
It was more than just the shape, I think, that makes these stand out. And I mean, the wood's also part of it. The wood's always like a natural tone, so
Yeah.
you can appreciate like how the wood actually looks. Then they're wired in like really unique ways too.
So the first guitar had 2 humbucking pickups and a 3-way switch, and the neck pickup had a phase reversal switch. That really was one of my favorite parts of it. But each pickup was also wired up so that I could coil tap. I didn't need to have all those switching options.
No, but I think
That was part of it, though.
yeah, is to not feel limited by your tool, even if you're not going to use a
Most of
certain
it.
aspect of it. Yeah. Started getting into electronic music in my early 20s-ish, and I realized that you were into it. I'm like, wait a minute, Tian's into this stuff. We started geeking out about electronic music.
You know, what's funny is that over the course of the last, holy shit, it's approaching 30 years. Over the
Yeah.
course of the last, several decades that we've known each other, we've actually managed to maintain a lot of similar interests without physically occupying the same space. Meaning, we see each other, once a year or so, and we get together and we jam and we have fun. And I think you said it best when, you said that on some level you feel like we're still teenagers when we have these kinds of conversations, because that's how far back it goes. And so we've managed to create, a time machine.
Yeah, man.
I mean, aside from acknowledging that I'm physically older and my body is physically aging, and that I am like every man in North America who is pushing 40, who doesn't want to admit they're pushing 40, I go to sleep, I get out of bed wrong, I can throw my back out. And this is this terrible situation because all my life I've been like a cat or a monkey. I could just climb all over everything. I could just jump up and
That was from an auto accident, right?
I've been in 2 auto accidents, and I had a lifting accident when I was helping build some stuff. The lifting accident was just unfortunate because that could have been avoided. But my employer was like, "Oh no, you'll be fine. You can do it." I was like, "No, I don't think I can." Well, we'll just finish out the day. The worst part about back injuries is it makes the guitar hell to play, because no one actually wants to play sitting down.
No, that's a very
That's
classical
yeah,
jazz.
I don't think that we can dissociate the electric guitar from rock and roll
And standing.
and standing.
Standing and playing.
You gotta stand and play if you want to rock.
Yeah. Right. So where are you at with your music now? Like, what are you working on?
So for the past year, a friend of mine and I have been developing a talk show called Exceptional Radio. We are the Exceptional Randos. And we talk about everything: music, art, food, travel, technology. Part of this was to create a platform to promote other musicians and music and art and all of those things. Really, we want to promote things and celebrate people succeeding. And so that was phase 1. And with one of the more long-term goals was eventually to start creating DJ mixes, primarily drum and bass, although I'm not opposed to other types of electronic music or anything like that, really. This is just what we happened to decide upon. And so we've just begun this phase of the project where we're going to start creating concept-based electronic music mixes and slowly add self-produced material. We created a mix to be released on next year, so in a few days. And it's going to be released on radiocallisti.org, which is a internet radio station that I've been working with for the past several months now, and they have been fantastic. You got an hour and 11 minutes out of me.
Okay.
Back to us. I actually haven't heard the interview, so I don't know what you guys heard. It'll when the podcast comes out, I will hear that interview for the first time, along with everyone else. So we kind of have a unique song that we did this time, which I guess you can briefly talk about before we actually play the song.
Yeah. So when I started out doing music, writing songs, I was using my friend's poetry to write the songs. And then my mom, I'd send, like everyone my stuff. And my mom was like, hey, you should do this with my friend's poetry, because I think they went to grade school or college together, something like that. And she's a famous poet in Korea. So my mom had her poems translated into English, and then I tweaked those to make the song that you're going to hear today. The song's called Puffy Cloud, and the original poem, is also called Puffy Cloud, but in Korean. Her name is, I think, Kang Ki-won, so K-A-N-G and then K-I-W-O-N.
All right. All right, so we recorded that yesterday. And I think Yejun and I practiced it once, twice, 3 times. I don't know, maybe 4 times. And then we did it, three? I think only 3 times.
Yeah, the drummer is a coworker of mine, and he came in to record it. He'd never heard it really before. I think I sent him maybe like a draft of it, but he just came in and knocked it out. Thank you, Darren.
Yeah, it was good. It feels like every time we do it, it feels like session recording, especially with like the rotating drummers.
Yeah.
Well, we've only had 2, but I feel like there's going to be more. It's good. I don't have as much punk and pop punk sensibility as Ye Jun does. So like I had to play the bass with a pick, which a lot of bassists frown upon. But there's no way to play that kind of fast bass line and get it to sound good without a pick. I don't know. It just like the pick adds the sound to it.
Yeah, that's definitely part of it.
I was having like horrible hand cramps during the recording of it. I don't know why. I just like so like on one of the takes, like my hand literally the pick hand like cramped up so bad, and the pick fell out of my hand, and it was so cramped I couldn't use my fingers to pick the strings. So I was sort of like hitting them with my hand, and then I went and tried to pick the pick up during one of the slower parts, and like my hand cramped back up again. So I had to keep on doing all these stretches. I don't know what's going on, but I had to do
We're
all
at
these.
that age, man.
I guess so. It was like it was just ridiculous. I was like, how could I play a whole show if I couldn't even get through one song? Anyway, it turned out good, and he brought some of his own. The drummer brought some of his own cymbals. So he brought this little tiny one, and it worked pretty good on some of the hits in the song because it was just like
Yeah.
it was like
The little splash.
a little tiny splash. Yeah. Here's a good question, Yejun. So when you write music to someone's lyrics, in this case, you've done it for at least two people, probably more. Do you think of that person? Like I know you don't really know this person when you're writing it, but what's your mindset when you're sitting down to write the music?
So initially, with my first friend for S Hero, yeah, absolutely, because I was trying to write music that she would enjoy since they were her words being used. You might notice like a drastic shift between my, kind of straightforward first two albums, I guess, or first album, and then it shifts into something entirely different where I feel a lot more creative leeway to just do whatever I want, and then I can be like, yeah, well, that's it. Whereas if I'm writing for someone else in any capacity, then I really try to take their own like tastes into consideration. For Puffy Cloud, that was a lot less like that, I think, because I don't know her. And I don't know what she listens to. Hopefully she enjoys it if she hears this.
She might actually like hate that kind of music.
Yeah, it's very possible. She's my mom's age. She's Korean. I don't think she's lived anywhere else other than Korea, so pop punk might not be her thing. How about you? Have you written stuff for other people or to other people's stuff?
Yeah. Most recently, the musical that I'm writing with my friend Joe. There's a really bad horror movie called Motel Hell.
Yeah, that's a good one.
And he saw it, and there's like a really, really, really weird scene with these like swingers who get S&M type swingers. They get a room there, and for some reason when he watched it, he imagined like a musical number dance routine with them, and it sparked this idea that he wanted to do a musical based on Motel Hell. So he was writing the lyrics to it, so he would give me lyrics. But he had an idea. He wanted it to be like kind of hillbilly, acid grass kind of music, like a mixture of like bluegrass, country, and then like crazy electronic, scary stuff. And which I don't. So basically, he's like, "This is what you need to write, and here's lyrics to it." And the first thing he gave me, it was called a hillbilly superhero. And it was like, I mean, I didn't really like the lyrics, but you have to write music to it. So I wrote this like really strange country song to the lyrics, like bluegrassy stuff. So
I guess I'm fortunate in that I've never had to write something where I'm like, I'm not really feeling this, but I'm gonna write it.
yeah, the first experience I had with it is when I was in a musical when I was like 19, 18, like right out of high school, and somebody was writing it. This guy from New York. While we were in production of it, it was like a musical based off of Rumpelstiltskin, and he wasn't writing it quick enough, and I was supposed to have this love duet in it. So like the woman who wrote it just like gave me the lyrics and was like, just write something to it. And I was like 18, so I did. I wrote this. This was called "Always Tomorrow," I think is the name of the song. And I wrote it, and we performed it and everything. And it was so that was my first time doing it. And I remember I pushed the limits. I wrote that song to be from the bottom to the top of my vocal range. I threw in every little weird key change I could in it and everything. It was a little bit overdone, but yeah, it wasn't anything like I would write really dark, strange music. And then when people would ask me to write music, I'd be like major key and happy and makes music sense and everything. So yeah, I mean, there's probably one or two times I've written for someone's lyrics, and every time I really stick to something traditional with not any like weird weirdness in it.
All right. I think that's all we have for this episode, right?
That's it.
Well,
Went down a checklist this time. We're getting official.
I feel professional. Like we have a sheet of paper this time. Yeah.
And we have a dog. We're on a couch this time too, with
Yeah.
a dog in between us.
Before it was in my basement. It's kind of cold, echoey. I don't know if this room will be as echoey.
I guess we'll see. I don't think it doesn't sound like it.
Oh, you know what? The drums aren't in here, so it's not going to resonate. The drum heads aren't. And then, yeah, we were sitting on those hard wooden chairs. This is way better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel very
Feels good
relaxed.
to be official.
I think the pacing was a little slower this time just because we're a little more relaxed.
Yeah.
All right, until next time, the world is our oyster.